A photo from Vienna, 1941, shows three children smiling in a quiet courtyard. At first, it looks ordinary. They wear patched clothes, their hair neat but thin from hunger. One girl holds a small loaf of bread as if it were treasure. Behind them stands a Virgin Mary statue, hands open in blessing. At first, nothing seems unusual. But decades later, when the image surfaced in a Red Cross archive, researchers noticed something they could not explain. The statue did not belong there. To understand this mystery, we must return to Vienna in the dark days of 1941. The city lived under German occupation. Bombs had not yet fallen in full force, but fear was heavy in every street. Jews, priests, and anyone accused of disloyalty risked arrest. Churches had their relics seized. Religious statues were taken from schools and squares, stored or destroyed. In this climate, an open Virgin Mary should not have stood in a public courtyard. The photo was taken in April of that year. The photographer was a local school teacher named Franz Adler. He was not known as an artist. He owned a small German-made camera and used it to document daily life around his district. His notes, found years later in a family chest, show a man who loved small details: children's games, market stalls, pigeons on rooftops. He wrote that he wanted to catch normal life before it disappears. On one page, Adler describes three siblings who often came to his street. Their names: Anna, 9 years old, Peter, 7, and their cousin Elsa, 8. He wrote, "They laugh when I bring the camera. They call it the magic box." The photo of them in the courtyard is the only surviving image of these children. At first glance, the picture is warm. The children look full of life, despite hunger and war. But what unsettled historians was not their smiles. It was the figure behind them. The Virgin Mary statue seems out of place. Its paint looks cracked, the stone base chipped, yet the figure shines in the morning light. Records show no such statue existed in that district after 1938. All parish statues were removed under strict orders. And yet, there it is, clear in the background of Adler's photo. The photo remained hidden until 1962, when Red Cross workers cataloged private papers donated from war survivors. In one envelope marked Vienna, they found Adler's negatives. The children could be identified through parish lists, but the statue raised an unsolved question. Local church inventories from the era list every removed or destroyed Virgin Mary. None matched the statue in the photo. Where did this statue come from? Why did it appear behind the children on that spring morning in 1941? And why does no one remember seeing it again? When the Red Cross photo was first examined, many assumed the statue must have been a simple error, a misdated picture, or perhaps a trick of light. But by the mid-1960s, researchers began to find supporting accounts that suggested something stranger. The first came from an interview in 1955 with an elderly woman named Marta Keller. She had lived on the same street where Adler had taken his photo. During post-war rebuilding, a local historian recorded her memories. Her words were written down in a fragile notebook, still preserved in Vienna's city archive. Keller recalled seeing children gather near a broken statue with kind eyes. She described it as half buried in a corner of the courtyard, leaning slightly as if damaged. But she also claimed that people often left small flowers or candles by its base, even though it was dangerous to do so. Religious symbols were closely monitored. The Gestapo considered any gathering around such objects as an act of resistance. In her own words, the children were not afraid. They sat by the lady and told stories. Some said she smiled. To us, she was comfort in the dark, though we never understood why she was there. This testimony matched the photo exactly. A Virgin Mary statue, visible behind laughing children, in the middle of a city where such symbols had been removed. But Keller's account raised a disturbing possibility. If the statue truly stood in that courtyard in 1941, then many families must have known about it. Why then does no parish record, no police file, no city inventory mention it? Vienna in 1941 was a city of hidden corners. Families gathered secretly in cellar chapels, lighting candles away from the eyes of patrols. Courtyards often became places of refuge, half forgotten by authorities. Some courtyards even sheltered religious objects smuggled from churches before they were seized. But historians who checked surviving church records found no trace of this statue. Its design, robes flowing, hands open, did not match any known Virgin Mary in Vienna at the time. Adler's diary gives a small clue. In one entry from April 1941, the same month the photo was taken, he wrote, "Strange thing today. The children played near the lady again. I asked where she came from. They said she had always been there. I do not remember her before this year." This puzzled note suggests even Adler, who documented every small detail of his street, could not explain the statue's sudden appearance. The risks of such a figure being visible were real. In occupied Vienna, people could be arrested for even minor acts of defiance. Displaying a Virgin Mary statue in public would have been enough to draw suspicion. And yet, according to witnesses, no official ever touched it. Neighbors claimed patrols passed by, but never seemed to see it. One testimony, recorded in 1971 by a parish priest collecting memories, came from a woman named Anna Bauer. As a girl, she lived 2 streets away. She recalled sneaking into the courtyard at night to leave breadcrumbs by the statue. She said she felt as if someone was listening, even though the courtyard was empty. Her testimony reads, "When the soldiers came, I hid, but the lady seemed to hide too. It was as if their eyes could not rest on her. Only children saw her clearly." If true, this raises a chilling idea. The statue may have been invisible or unnoticed to adults under occupation, except to those who dared to look too closely. The mystery deepened when researchers traced the children from Adler's photo. Parish records revealed their names: Anna and Peter Mueller, with their cousin Elsa. Further digging found school records and ration cards. The family had lived at that address until 1942. Then, suddenly, their names vanished from local lists. Anna survived the war and, in 1964, gave a short testimony to a Catholic relief worker. She recalled the day her younger brother Peter disappeared. He was taken during a roundup of families in their district. Anna wrote, "I never saw him again, but the night before, he whispered that the lady spoke to him. He said she told him to be brave, that he would go on a journey I could not follow." This simple line, written by a woman who lost her brother as a child, stunned researchers. Peter was 7 years old when he vanished. No transport record lists his name. No camp registry mentions him. His fate is marked only by the word relocated in a city police file, a vague term used often in Vienna at the time. The photo, the diaries, and the testimonies now connected in a chilling way. Behind the smiling children, a Virgin Mary statue that should not have been there. A boy who claimed to hear her voice, and then his disappearance, leaving no official trace. Anna's account adds one more disturbing note. In her letter, she describes returning to the courtyard weeks later. The Virgin Mary statue was gone. The base remained, cracked and empty, but the figure itself had vanished without explanation. No neighbor she asked could tell her what happened. Some insisted there had never been a statue at all. Others refused to speak. Anna wrote, "I sometimes wonder if we imagined her. But Peter swore she spoke. When I look at the photo, I know she was there. I know she watched us." For historians, this disappearance of both statue and child formed the heart of the puzzle. The archival evidence proves the photo exists. The statue is clear in the image. Multiple witnesses across decades describe it. Yet official documents list no such statue in Vienna during 1941. By the end of the 1960s, the case had grown from a curious photograph into a historical riddle. Was the statue a forgotten parish relic, hidden in plain sight? Or was it something more? An image that appeared only for certain eyes, remembered only by those who needed hope? And the bigger question remained, what happened to Peter, the boy who whispered that the Virgin Mary spoke to him the night before he disappeared? The mystery of the Virgin Mary statue might have ended with the disappearance of both Peter and the figure itself. But 2 decades later, new files came to light that pushed the case into darker territory. In 1968, a historian at the Austrian National Library uncovered a set of wartime Gestapo reports marked restricted objects. These were records of items seized from private homes, schools, and churches in Vienna. One file described an operation in May 1941, the confiscation of a religious object causing gatherings in a courtyard on Adler Gas Street. The description fits exactly with Adler's photo, yet the report was incomplete. The final page, where the object's fate should have been listed, was missing. Only a faint pencil note remained. Children present. Further action required. That missing page is the last official trace of the statue. Another file from the same month lists the Muller family's address. Next to their names was a single word, relocated. No camp or train record followed. For researchers, this was the dead end that haunted the story. Where had the children gone? Why was Peter never seen again? The mystery grew darker with a discovery made in 1946 by U.S. Army officers stationed in Vienna. In rubble near Adler Gasse Street, they found fragments of a statue. The pieces were painted wood, scorched by fire, but the face was intact. The Virgin's eyes were untouched, still painted blue, still calm and luminous. The officer who filed the report, Captain John Riley, wrote in his diary, "Strangest thing. The children nearby said it had once stood in their courtyard. They called it the Lady of Light. I had never heard of such a figure. The fragments were taken for storage, but no museum today holds them. Their location is unknown." By the late 20th century, the case of Adler's photograph had become a subject of quiet debate among historians, theologians, and archivists. For some, it is simply a lost artifact, a perished statue smuggled to safety, photographed by chance, then destroyed by war. For others, the testimonies suggest something more unusual, an object that appeared when it was needed and vanished when its purpose was done. Anna Muller herself gave one final account in 1980 before her death. In a letter to a local priest, she wrote, "I have never forgotten the lady. When my brother whispered that she spoke to him, I thought he was only playing. But after he was taken, I began to dream of her. Always the same dream. She stood in the courtyard, but her eyes followed me. She seemed to wait. I never understood what she wanted, but I believe she was real." Anna died with no answers. Her brother Peter remains missing, his fate marked only by one blurred photograph and a single word in a police file. The Virgin Mary statue, too, has no confirmed origin. No parish inventory matches it. No registry shows where it went. Only the image survives. A moment captured on film. A presence standing silently behind three children during one of the darkest years of Vienna's history. For some, the story is a parable of survival and faith. For others, it is a warning. A sign that even in times of cruelty, forces beyond our understanding may shape events in ways we cannot explain. Today, the photograph hangs in a small archive room, rarely shown to the public. To most, it is just another wartime picture. But for those who look closely, the Virgin Mary behind the children remains a haunting presence. Her figure is cracked, her base broken, but her eyes seem to hold a question. Was she simply stone and paint? A forgotten relic caught by chance in a teacher's lens? Or was she something else? A sign to children who needed hope, a presence that spoke only to the innocent and disappeared when darkness closed in. No one knows for certain. Perhaps no one ever will. This has been a fictional story, told in the style of forgotten archives and lost testimonies. If you want to hear more stories like this one, subscribe to our channel and tap the bell.